Shalom, today is February 3rd. We're ending the Shabbat here in Israel. We're beginning a new week. Here in All Israel News, we're watching Channel 12, the evening news, as many families are watching this. The anchor says it is 120 days of the war. It's almost 4 months of the war with Hamas, and still today there are 136 hostages kept in Gaza by Hamas. We're hoping to enter a second hostage deal, and we'll hear more details about it soon. Here the reporters are being introduced. As the disputes and uncertainty about this agreement, the frustration of the families of the hostages is increasing, and they're continuing to protest with vigils, with a lot of anger. But we'll begin first with Yaron Avraham, the reporter, about the delay in Hamas's answer for the hostage release deal. He says, in Jerusalem, we're still waiting for the answer by Hamas. There was some sort of understanding that we thought that it would be, the deal would be closing through the weekend, but that did not happen. They're saying maybe tomorrow, maximum, the next day, there will be a deal closed. It's unpleasant to say, but Israel is waiting for Hamas's answer. We're held by Hamas. So the question is rising, why is there a delay? Is it because the disputes between the senior leaders of Hamas, or is it because Israel is not sure about it? But the final answer is with Hamas. They're saying there isn't such a big dispute between the seniors after all. But Israel does have some questions. Before we even speak about the severity of the terrorists that will be released or the number of them, there's a question whether or not Israel should go for a partial release of hostages, which will be a humanitarian one, or go for all of the hostages being released. In addition to this, U.S. Secretary of State Blinken is going to arrive on his 6th visit to Israel since the war, not only to Israel, but to a series of countries. And he'll be asking Israel to come up with answers and decisions concerning Gaza and Rafah and the hostage deal. We'll have to, there'll be quite dramatic decisions being made. The next story is about the involvement of UNRWA in the atrocities on October 7th. This reporter is saying that the chief of staff of Israel is saying stop giving UNRWA a bad name. He's telling Israel to stop giving UNRWA a bad name because it's not good for us. It says lehafsik, to stop, lehashchir, to blacken. Stop blackening UNRWA. And his request is let's wait until there's a different organization that's going to help with the humanitarian aid, because until then it's just going to backfire on us. Not that they were not involved, but if we don't have any alternative to UNRWA, don't speak badly about them quite yet. But of course, there's an international campaign against them already, so it's like a snowball, the reporter is saying. And also, it's not the chief of staff that decides this, but rather the government and the war cabinet and the prime minister. So they'll decide, will we try to push UNRWA out or just hold it a little bit? And of course, this has to do, the anchor says, with the day after Gaza, which Israel is having a hard time deciding what to do with Gaza the day after the war. And here, this reporter for the Arab issues, he's revealing that Hamas is preventing from Gaza citizens to reach the humanitarian aid that's coming in. It's a very sensitive place in the southern part of Gaza where they are desperate for humanitarian aid, but the citizens are afraid of the terrorists, of Hamas activists. There they are with a rod, using violence, hitting with rods, and even shooting in the air. So Hamas is just preventing the humanitarian to the citizens, and we can learn from this that Hamas is still in control and he is governing Gaza, the Gaza Strip. Hamas is maintaining the order cruelly in the northern part of the Gaza Strip and in the southern part. And whoever says that needs to be an alternative to Hamas must see these pictures, the armed Hamas activists. And of course, there needs to be a cabinet discussion about the day after who will control Gaza, because it cannot continue to be Hamas. Next is that last night, U.S. military attacked in Iraq and in Syria 85 different targets that are Iranian-backed. Here we hear a woman in Arabic shouting to God. And America is promising that this is just the beginning. This is, of course, as a response to the 3 American soldiers that were killed 5 days ago. In Iraq and in Syria, they published these pictures that are the disaster after the attack, the American attack. We see the destruction, and they're saying some civilians were killed as well. And the U.S. said that they do not want to escalate into a war, but they will if they need to. And the next few days, we'll see what happens. And now to the IDF spokesperson, Daniel Hagari. He's beginning with Erev Tov, good evening. Today we're marking 120 days since the beginning of the war. We're continuing to deepen the military achievements in Khan Yunis and in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. From the very beginning of the war, Hezbollah positioned themselves together with Hamas and fired into Israel. And the Israeli government had to make a tough decision of evacuating tens of thousands of civilians from the northern border. For 120 days, they have been evacuated from their homes. Since the beginning of the war, Hezbollah is trying to distract us from the war with Gaza. They're launching rockets and shooting into Israel and trying to come up with more and more terrorist attacks into Israel. But we're determined to bring back peace and security to the northern border where the Israelis can come back and live in their homes across the border. This is the southern part of Lebanon where the Litani River is going. Now, according to the resolution 1701 in the United Nations Security Council, there shouldn't be any armed personnel, assets, or other weapons other than the government of Lebanon. But here it is full of Hezbollah weapons and armed personnel. Hezbollah is just spreading all out against the UN Security Council decision. They're all through the south of Lebanon, and they are a threat to Israel and to the home front of Israel, especially in the northern part. Hezbollah is attacking the northern villages of Israel and is aiming to them. So the Israeli military is acting against this in a proactive way, against these assets, against these hostilities in the southern part of Lebanon. And there are three efforts, you can say, that the Israeli military is doing. One is defense, the other one is attack, and the other one is readiness. The third one is readiness. So the IDF spokesperson is going to elaborate on these three efforts. Right now he's in Haganah, in the security part, in the defense part. He will explain more about the attack. And he is saying that Hezbollah is just another arm from Iran. And Iran is spreading many, many different octopus arms, as they say, all around towards Israel. It's also not good for any of the countries in the Middle East, but especially also for the West. He's saying that we killed 200 terrorists have been assassinated by the Israeli military. Whoever is trying to work against Israel will meet IDF forces. We've attacked over 3,400 targets of Hezbollah in the southern part of Lebanon where there aren't supposed to be any Hezbollah targets or assets. Also, Hezbollah uses civilians as human shield, and they're embedded within those civilian villages and buildings and homes. That spokesperson is saying that we will know to attack and get to every house that is used for Hezbollah. The spokesperson is going on here, and it's quite interesting, but really he's communicating expectations to the northern citizens of Israel that have been evacuated from their home for over 120 days and saying this will not take weeks or months, it will take longer. So this is not easy to hear, but the war with Hezbollah is apparent. For more updates and stories, go to allisrael.com, follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel where you'll see more videos like these and others. This is Rotem Magen for All Israel News.